season of mists, mellow fruitfulness, and conferences. That seems to be the pattern right now. Take a few days at the end of the summer holidays to wake up the brain cells that have been lulled into slumber by the lapping of lakeside or seaside water and soft sunny days. Immerse yourself in a quick dip into new thinking around old and new problems. Sharpen up the mental faculties ready for the forthcoming challenges. Which was pretty much the motivation driving me to Hamburg and a conference entitled Organising for Collaborative Innovation, which was hosted at the Technical University and convened by the Continuous Innovation Network, CINET. Now, this event was a little special, representing the 25th anniversary of the conference, and it carried on doing what it's always done, drawing together people from all over the world bound by a common interest in innovation. Now, that innovation question never changes. It's always what it always was. How do we create value from ideas? But what changes, of course, is the context. New technologies, new markets, changes in the shape and expectations of existing ones, new competitors, new regulations. There's plenty to keep researchers and practitioners awake and wondering all night long and well into the next day. Now, this year was no exception. Hot topics ranged from entrepreneurial ecosystems through collaborative workspaces to novel forms of financing corporate venturing. With, of course, the huge elephant, which was not just sitting quietly in the corner, but stomping its footprints all over everything at the conference, AI, artificial intelligence. Now, it was a particularly significant conference for me, since I remember the first, much smaller gathering of researchers, practitioners and policymakers in a small hotel room near Gatwick Airport in the UK. The hot topic then, which had drawn us together, was the challenge of mobilising employee involvement in innovation. Now, we've always known that employees could be a source of ideas, especially in terms of improving the processes in which they work. And suggestion schemes have been around in some form or other back in the mists of time. Elements of the approach can be found in the medieval guild system, where it was used to help develop and improve craft skills and practices. It was an idea which the 8th shogun of Japan, Yoshimune Tokugawa, tried out in 1721 with his Maya Subako, a box placed at the entrance of the Edo castle for written suggestions from its subjects. And the British Navy pioneered a similar scheme in 1770, asking its sailors and marines for their ideas, significantly reassuring them that such suggestions would not carry the risk of punishment. By the time of the Industrial Revolution, innovation was recognised as a powerhouse, and not everyone thought that ideas should be confined to specialists, with the workers simply employed as pairs of hands. In 1871, Denny's shipyard on the banks of the River Clyde began operating a suggestion scheme amongst its 350 employees. It enabled them to cut the time to build a warship from 6 months to 4, while contributing a variety of other quality and productivity improvements. And in 1892, John Patterson at the National Cash Register Company in the United States began exploring ways of tapping into the 100-headed brain of his workforce. His success led the Eastman Kodak Company to implement a similar scheme in 1896. Now, it wasn't just innovation rates which improved. A growing number of studies, not least the famous Western Electric research at the Hawthorne plant, found that asking people for their ideas and enrolling them in workplace productivity improvements had the byproduct effect of better motivation and employee satisfaction. The great quality management guru, Joseph Juran, talked about the gold in the mine, describing how unlocking the potential of employees to add their mental weight to the innovation problem could dramatically improve quality. So, the challenge 25 years ago that we were exploring at that first conference was not about the what, but very much about the how. How to move from the rhetoric, the motherhood statements about every employee being creative and able to contribute, to actually making it happen. It's all very well saying, as one manager memorably told me, that the beauty of it is that with every pair of hands, you get a free brain. No, the big question is how to mobilize this and how to sustain the initial enthusiasm and momentum for the long haul. Now, at that time, we were riding on the back of the latest revolution to sweep manufacturing and services, that of lean thinking. Now, that's a powerful set of tools and concepts, and lean puts employees at the centre of its promise. And finding ways to engage with them was strongly linked to significant productivity improvements achieved by a consistent attack on waste, continuous improvement. Now, we learned a lot through that CINet network and from many other communities of practice, trying to share experiences and good practice. And the first key learning was that it's not a simple binary shift, a magic wand that you wave over your workforce and instantly they become an innovation powerhouse. Instead, it's a gradual building up of capability, installing a version of the innovation process designed to capture ideas from everyone, select the promising ones, and implementing them, making sure that the loop is reinforced by sharing the gains and embedding the learning. Now, one of our earliest observations was the honeymoon effect. It's easy enough to switch people on. It makes sense to them. They have plenty of ideas. They're closest to the problem. They can see how it can be improved. They've often even devised their own hacks and workarounds. So many high involvement innovation programs began life in this way on a wave of enthusiasm. Catch that wave and you could be onto a winner. But too often the wave broke on a rather inflexible shore. The ideas flooded in, but not all of them were acted on. Indeed, there could be a suspicion that they weren't being heard. Feedback and progress updates were absent, so people felt their ideas had been tossed into a black hole. Not the most enabling conditions to encourage people to continue with their efforts. Slogans are all very well, but despite the barrage of posters and other reminders of the company's commitment to listening to and acting on little ideas from everyone, the reality was a growing perception of business as usual, and once again of the employees feeling they've been bombed by yet another initiative. So keep your head down, it'll go away, and the next one will arrive in due course. What became clear to us as researchers was the need for long-term commitment and the creation of a supporting infrastructure to enable these behaviours to take root and to yield fruit. There were success stories, but increasingly it became clear that maturity in high involvement innovation wasn't a matter of how long you've been doing it or even how much budget you were prepared to throw at it. Long-term sustainable programs were those which became part of the fabric of the innovation approach, supported and led, enabled with training, motivation embedded with feedback, rewards and recognition. Now that kind of thing needs to become a core part of the culture, the way we do things around here, if it's going to have a sustained impact and become a strategic resource. And that depends on building 9 core capabilities. First of all, establish high involvement innovation as a core value. Show that you believe that little improvements from everyone matter in this organisation. Recognition and reward, reinforcing this core value by relevant incentives, less about money than about being listened to, empowered and enabled to contribute. A commitment to training and development to support learning about how to become an effective innovator. Establishing a core process to enable high involvement innovation to happen, including allowing time and space for it to operate. Having idea management systems which give feedback and action to ideas. Providing facilitation and support for it, coaching, training, structures and so on. Leadership, demonstrating commitment to these values by walking the talk. Strategic direction, Having policy deployment where bottom-up capability for innovation meets top-down clear direction about where and why improvements matter. And building dynamic capability, stepping back and constantly reviewing and updating the high involvement approach. Now all that was a long time ago, and a lot has changed, but the underlying challenges and the promise remain. If we can find ways to tap into the natural creativity and the deep knowledge which employees in any organisation have, then we can take a regular and a powerful innovation dividend. And in times of recession and constraint, this has consistently proved to be a key life support mechanism for organisations. There may be limits to the appetite for risk in launching new products and services at a time when belts are being tightened and where uncertainty rules the roost, but there's always a place for optimizing, improving, eliminating wastes, the original but still very relevant lean prescription. Now the good news is that the field has moved on. That constantly changing context for innovation has included the addition of some powerful reinforcements for high involvement innovation. First of all, there's massive evidence that the approach works. Cases and data sets regularly point to clear evidence that it has a lot to offer. It isn't automatic, but it is worth investing in. The experience of Toyota and other pioneer firms which have been doing this for a long time offers us plenty of food for thought. Their continued status as one of the companies with the highest productivity growth record over decades is enviable. But there's also evidence from newer kids on the innovation block, confirming the message. Give people time, space and structure to enable their ideas to flow, and it'll pay dividends. Some examples of specific savings at the organisational level. Liberty Global's Spark programme, in its various forms, has generated over 25 million euros return on investment, with a large part of that coming from programmes and campaigns focused on key strategic issues. Importantly, the Spark platform approach is now a household name around the organisation. These days, no one questions our value, according to Sarah Kelly, who's the Senior Innovation Manager responsible for implementing Spark. Or ConocoPhillips and their Do Things Better programme. On a conservative estimate, this has saved them over $100 million over the past years, and many times that over the programme's life. The difficulty comes, according to Liz Jolly, who's Innovation Manager, is that continuous improvement is sometimes almost invisible. It's a slow, incremental grinding down rather than a big bang. But the cumulative impact on time saving, emission reduction, quality and other improvements works out at those millions of dollars every year. Or BAE Systems and their Empower program, where savings have been such that the organisation now has a budget of $1 million to invest in supporting ideas through to implementation. And they expect to get a return of between 5 and 10 times that sum from employee suggestions. And it's not just the commercial world. Similar stories can be found in the public and the not-for-profit sectors. Within the United Nations, innovation programs are proliferating, many of them designed to capture and mobilize ideas from across the organisation and especially from those at the sharp end of operations. Agencies like UNICEF, the World Food Programme and UN Global Pulse have put in place extensive support mechanisms aimed at capturing ideas, enabling pilots, and then scaling some of those solutions for widespread impact. A second reason for optimism is that the enabling technology has also grown up. In the bad old days, there was a limit to how effective a high involvement innovation programme could be, simply because of the logistics of handling so many ideas. There was a real risk that you might become victim of your own success, convincing people to offer up ideas and then drowning in the sheer volume of solutions which you didn't necessarily have the infrastructure to help implement. Faced with this problem, a number of people began working on IT-based solutions. Early attempts were little more than electronic versions of the old physical suggestion box, with some rudimentary tracking of those ideas. But gradually things improved. The interface became more friendly, and with the growth of internal company networks, the possibility of accessing a terminal and logging onto a screen became available to many more people. Instead of being a one-way posting process, the beginnings of visibility emerged. People could see what happened to their ideas and get some feedback on them. User companies began to sit up and take notice as a new way of engaging employees emerged, one which offered the twin advantages of richness and reach. Through such platforms, a high volume of people could be connected, forming the neurons in a potentially giant innovation brain for the organization. And their activity could be extended way beyond simply posting up a suggestion. They could comment on other people's ideas, like or suggest modifications, join in virtual teams, building and shaping ideas into real innovation possibilities. Today's collaboration platforms have a lot more to offer, not only in capturing ideas, but in mobilizing knowledge across and even between organizations. They do so in an interactive space in which challenges can be posed, ideas suggested, comments added, shaping and welding together multiple knowledge sets and experience, drawing all of this together. Where it was once the exception to find firms like Toyota reporting high levels of participation and harvesting the benefits emerging from millions of suggestions, it's now commonplace to find benefits reported in terms of million-dollar savings across tens of thousands of employees. But it's not just the raw return on investment which collaboration platforms offer, though these benefits are impressive. Their real value lies in the way they've matured to enable systematic innovation routines to work at scale across the entire innovation process, not just the front-end idea generation. And it's not just the direct financial returns on investment which result from cost and time savings, quality improvements, or process simplifications which makes collaboration platforms an attractive proposition. Perhaps their real value lies in the way they enable continuous improvement to work at scale and support the entire life cycle of improvement, from initial ideation right through to implementation, and offering a number of additional benefits, including improved motivation. People respond positively to being involved in innovation and having their voices heard. Communication at scale, weaving those different strands of the organizational knowledge spaghetti, weaving those strands together to improve overall knowledge management. And breaking down those institutional silos, connecting up the organization. Perhaps particularly important, making problem issues transparent to everyone because they show up on the platform and can be seen by others with different perspectives. Now we can think of these as emergent properties. The innovation whole becomes much greater than the sum of its parts. They give us a new and powerful way of working with the innovation challenge. Not only can we handle the sheer scale of mobilizing employee ideas, but we can also focus them towards key objectives. And we can do so in ways which yield surprising additional benefits. They effectively turbocharge our innovation system. And there's a third piece of good news around high involvement innovation, because there's growing interest in the idea of creating an innovation culture, one which offers the agility and resilience to cope with an increasingly complex world and the challenges it throws at us. Whether we're talking about revitalizing corporations, reinventing the public sector, or transforming not-for-profit organizations like the United Nations so that they can meet the Sustainable Development Goals, the message is the same. It's going to come through people. Even with AI as a powerful lieutenant, the ideas and energy will emerge from a workforce equipped and committed to innovation. So I found myself in Hamburg thinking that 25 years on, we've got a lot to talk about and to celebrate. Not just the longevity of this particular conference, but the persistence and power of one of the key underlying themes, high involvement innovation. Things have moved on a long way over those years, but the challenge still remains. Talking about high involvement innovation, however refined and well researched the conversation has become, is no substitute for actually rolling up our sleeves and doing it.